Hi, everybody. This is Andrew Padon. I'm coming at you through the power of Steam It. Thank you for listening. It is, of course, Saturday, May 27, 2017. And let's go ahead and get started. What I want to talk about first is basically essentially about myself. I want to talk about myself. I want to be a very bad individual, be a very greedy individual, and bring all the attention towards me. But essentially, that's what I'm going to talk about because I just started doing this blog on Steemit. I'm still relatively new, and I want to give people an idea of who I am, or what I do, or what I would like to do with this blog. So let's go ahead and let's get started. First of all, I have a communications degree from the University of Massachusetts. I graduated in 2010, GPA 3.5, enough to earn a cum laude. I believe that's how you say it. So I've always wanted to get into radio and television. I've always wanted to get into being able to speak to audiences and speak and communicate to other people. And I've always wanted a career in that. And the reason what got me into wanting to do that is watching sports, watching Red Sox games. And I'm a New Englander. I'm from Massachusetts, the sunny side of Massachusetts. And so I've really gotten into watching the New England Patriots and the Red Sox and just really being excited about the prospect of wanting to get into radio and being able to talk about sports and make a living off of doing that. So I'm like, well, this is great. This is what I want to do. So I went to school to do that. Didn't end up working out. I work in the manufacturing industry for about 7 years since I graduated, but I still sort of hold on to the idea that I want to do radio. And a lot of people say, Andrew, you can't do radio because you can't speak very well. And yeah, there's some truth to that. I'm not one of the best speakers in the world. Don't get me wrong. However, I just don't give a shit. People say don't do radio. I'm just going to do radio anyways. So I may not do mainstream radio. I may not be a very well known person, but I still do it even if it's just one person listening or nobody's listening. And if nobody's listening, then I'm essentially just talking to myself. So, anyways, moving on. What else can I tell you about myself? Well, I'm single. I have no girlfriend. I've never had a girlfriend, to tell you the truth. I've sort of kind of debated with myself back and forth whether or not I want a girlfriend. I don't want a girlfriend. Don't really know what I want with girls. I've never particularly been very good with women and relating to women. And there's personal issues that I've had that I'm not going to get into in this blog, but it's safe to say that it's a very sensitive subject that kind of hits home to myself. A funny thing is, I just had a conversation with a guy just yesterday at work, and he's like, "Man, Andrew, look at all these girls at this manufacturing plant, man. You could be talking to all of them. You could be fraternizing with them, flirting with them, and just all this stuff." And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just not feeling it. I love women. I know I'm a heterosexual, but I just don't have it in me. Pretty much is what my attitude is on that subject. But I do would like to congratulate people that do get into relationships because I know it's a very, very difficult process, and I know it takes a lot of time, effort, and trust to be able to have a successful relationship, particularly a successful marriage. Anyways, that's just a little bit about myself. Let me go ahead and get started on what this blog is really about, but kind of wanted to give everybody an idea. Oh, another thing I want to mention too about this blog and the future of this blog, I would love to start doing interviews. I would love to start talking to certain individuals who are well known on the web. It just talk about politics, talk about geopolitics, talk about finance, whatever it is, whatever interests people. I'm definitely willing to do that. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for in my end game with this blog. So, anyways, without further ado, let me go ahead and get into this article real quick. And the reason why I want to talk about this article is because it kind of hits home to me for a little bit. and I'll tell you why a little bit later on. But iHeartRadio parent may be shaping up for a bruising fight with its lenders. This is out of Market Watch. Excuse me for one moment while I get a sip of water. You know, I'm actually in my attic right now doing this video, and it's actually kind of warm up here. So my mouth kind of gets dry periodically, so it sounds like I'm slurring my words when I'm trying not to. And it's Saturday night, you know. I'm here. It sounds like I'm here getting drunk when I'm not. And you know, if you hear me sipping something, it's not alcohol. I can promise you that. Anyways, let's go ahead and move forward. I'll read you a little bit of this article by Sierra Linane. iHeartRadio parent iHeartMedia Inc. is back on the ropes. The biggest operator of radio stations in the U.S. is having a hard time persuading creditors to get on board with exchange offers covering some $14 billion in debt it badly needs to refinance. On Thursday, the company extended the offers for a fifth time as it became apparent that some who were previously willing to participate are now backing out of the deal. iHeartMedia, which also owns billboard advertising company Clear Channel Outdoor, said just 47.1 million of notes equals 0.6% of the outstanding amount have been tendered as of 5 p.m. on May 24th. That's less than 86.7 million that the company previously said had been tendered as of May 11th. So anyways, what's really going on here is it's the death of radio. You know, what I find fascinating by iHeartRadio is the fact that it's not really very well localized at all. Yeah, I mean, there's various radio stations in my area that certainly do cover local issues. None that are really important, but they still, they'll promote some charity or whatever small business. Hey, buy into this person's thing or donate money here. And so we get a lot of that, but it's not really local in a sense that we don't hear any real local music unless you switch to a college station. I'm sure it's like that everywhere around the country, but iHeartRadio pretty much eliminates anything that could possibly be local. And all you hear is the same music at the same times all throughout the day. Now, like I said before, I work in manufacturing, so we listen to the radio all day as we work. And I can tell you this much, that we know what time it is simply by what song is being played. So for example, if Justin Bieber is being played at a certain time of day, we know it's, let's say, 3:30. You know what I mean? What time is it? Well, instead of asking what time is it, listen to the radio, because the radio is going to tell you what time it is, because they only play a certain song at a certain time. That's iHeartRadio for you. That's how crappy their business model essentially is, because they only promote a few artists, and they'll throw in a song here and there, to kind of mix things up a little bit. But for the most part, it's all the same crap, right? All throughout the day. Now, going back to their whole business model, what is their business model really? I mean, their business model, now this is going back to the whole idea of payola. Now, payola technically, I believe, is still illegal. And what payola is in the radio industry is you're a record company and you pay a radio station a certain amount of money to promote an artist and to promote them at a certain time. So it's basically you pay the DJ to do this. So, technically it's illegal because radio is supposed to be a community thing. It's supposed to be there for a public service. It's a utility, essentially. However, what iHeartRadio does is it takes the utility away and it creates a business model out of it. So, in other words, it takes away the community out of it. And if it takes the community out of it, it takes away the local feel of it, right? So you're not listening to real local radio. As a matter of fact, most of the stuff that you listen to on a radio isn't even done at any sort of studio. Within the local area, it's done halfway around the country, and they're just simulcasting it all throughout these different stations from various parts of the country. So it's very non. It just doesn't make you care for that particular station that you're listening to when you have when they're running on a iHeartRadio platform. And with iHeartRadio, now I don't know how this works per se, but I have a feeling, I have a gut instinct that that's where they get a lot of their profits from, is from the record companies that pay them and to play a song at a certain time, and that they're just basically a clearinghouse for that. I guess that's the best way to describe it. But that's, of course, my opinion on that subject. Just coming from a little bit of my background in communications. But in anyways, it's kind of like, I mean, let me use this as an example. As Uber. Uber's a perfect example of this, right? Now, you have a company that goes out and pays regular people to do what cab services usually do, right? And these people are underpaid. They're vastly underpaid. But their marketing pitch is, well, if you work for us, then you could be your own boss and you could make a whole bunch of money, right? Which with Uber, it's generally not the case. With iHeartRadio, I think it's sort of the same set of circumstances where, you know, you have this platform. Record companies can pay this platform to play as an artist at a certain time, as opposed to going to each individual DJ, each individual station. You have one centralized platform to do so, and so they make a whole bunch of money doing that. The record companies make a whole bunch of money because they spend less time and energy contacting people, and it just goes straight to one platform. Everybody's happy except that iHeartRadio goes out and promotes all these different events, and they just spend cash like it's going out of style, and now they're completely underwater. They don't know if they're going to survive. People are unsubscribing to their services because their services are garbage. You know, people don't want to listen to Justin Bieber 30 times a day. So what do? You know, right now they're just bleeding cash. And people are wondering why. Why are they bleeding cash? This is a perfect example. And the reason why I'm highlighting this article in this video is it's a perfect example why media is dying. And it's a perfect example why many of these people that run these companies have absolutely no clue what the consumers really want. They think the consumers want Justin Bieber. They think the consumers want Katy Perry. They have these I don't know what the word is. They have these weird fantasies of people falling in love with the same artist, when in reality these artists are just crap. You know, they produce crap, and they think people like it. You know, I mean, it's just the strangest thing. They have no clue or concept of the real world. So, of course, right now at this point, I'm ranting. I appreciate everybody who's watched this video. And please subscribe to my channel on Steam. I would really appreciate it. I'll try to follow you back as well. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.